Ghanatube so we have for model snowy. Masan so atenasido in some ahodo kobenina nsa ebeka ewo channel we so enti tempa no so mennom enkwan no enja fonti ye be hakotie in some ahodo bi ekoso ewo omagane na yaba.
You on Professor Christopher Ameyaw-Komfi and Solomon Asamoah, who are standing trial in the SkyTrain project scandal. This is one that we've been following quite closely. There's a lot that happened today, and look, it's interesting how the twists and turns of this case is really playing out. But lawyers of the former board chair of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Professor Christopher Ameyaw-Komfi, they filed processes at the Accra High Court seeking to stop the criminal case against their client over what they term as premature. Now, Professor Ameyaw-Komfi, together with the former CEO of the JIF, if we call Solomon Asamoah, they have been charged with multiple offenses in connection with the failed Accra SkyTrain project. Some $2 million was lost in that one, and the Attorney General is going after them to have that money retrieved. My colleague Dennis Babari-Wadam Esquire is with me in the studio. We have an update on this case and what happened in court earlier today. Dennis, good to have you.
Always a pleasure being here, Alfred.
Fantastic. What do we know? What's the latest to this?
Well, so today was for case management. In a sense, prosecution together with the defense and the court will reconcile all the documents that have been filed to check to see if all the parties have the same documents, and that will set the ground for trial to begin, where prosecution will begin to put its witnesses into the box to testify, cross-examination and all that. However, before that could start, the defense, especially lawyer for Professor Ameyaw-Komfi, tried to draw the court's attention to a motion that had been filed before the court. And that motion was to the effect that they want the matters before the High Court stayed because they had referred parts of the matters there to the Supreme Court for some determination to be made. Essentially, when you look at what they have, they are seeking for an order which they want for the striking out of the action against the accused person. In their view, the action is premature, for which reason they are seeking an order for same to be struck out. They also say that it's in violation of the legal precedent imposed on prosecution. They also contend that there is a constitutional interpretation matter to be dealt with, and to think that the High Court does not have jurisdiction to interpret the Constitution, and the law requires that any time such a matter arises in the High Court, proceedings should be stayed for same to be referred to the Supreme Court for interpretation. That is the nature of that motion that they sought to move before the High Court, before CMC, which was for today's business. However, the judge did not allow that to happen, essentially because the processes in her view had not been done with. That is to say, there was supposed to be some service and all that. In any case, the business for today was supposed to be CMC. So in effect, that did not happen, even though the judge addressed it briefly and explained why that could not happen. After away from that, now CMC, like I earlier explained, largely has to do with documents.
So by CMC, you mean the case management conference?
Yes, the case management conference. Documents. Let's reconcile the documents. And it's at this point that you get to know who is testifying for who and in respect of what. But we here in Ghana tonight already have done a lot of work on this. At least beforehand, we've been able to indicate who the prosecution, some of the prosecution witnesses were, at least 4 of them, and the areas of their testimony, which will be coming up in the coming days. However, it turned out that there are more to the 4 that we put up. There are more to the 4.
I see.
So today, the prosecution actually put up 8 witnesses. It is also instructive to know that some witness statements were also withdrawn. And we'll begin to look at some of those ones, and those who are testifying, who are they and what are they going to talk about. We also indicate whose witness statements have also been withdrawn.
Interesting.
Yes,
let's get into it.
This is Francis Sabuaji. He's the lead investigator, staff officer, National Investment Bureau. His area of testimony will be in relation to activities including interviews and documents and review of the contracts, also verification of relevant documents, and establish some facts surrounding the transaction. Mind you, this whole transaction has to do with the GIIF going into agreements in respect of matters that have to do with the construction of what has now become the Accra Sky Train, which never happened. However, we parted ways with money, and the project has not been done. In respect of that, the two persons standing trial are held accountable for that purpose. Now, there's supposed to be some transactions, some contracts and all that. This person is the one who has looked into all that and is making the testimony.
I see.
One thing that happened in respect of his was to the effect that, yes, there was a witness statement that was filed on the 2nd of June. That was withdrawn and replaced with another which was filed on the 16th of June.
I see. There's some 8 days
additional information.
Okay.
Yes, so another witness in this will be Yvonne Odolesowa. She is a board member of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund from the period of 2017 to 2021. Her area of testimony will be whether or not the documents in respect to the Sky Train were submitted to the board and whether or not the board approved any disbursement of monies in this. Mind you, the key allegation in this is the fact that the money was dispersed without the approval of the board.
Yeah.
While the board chair, who is Professor Christopher Amiakumfi, insists that there was an approval for same, the CEO, former CEO, also says that there was approval. These persons will also come and testify as to whether or not there was an approval in respect of that. We also have Nana Efua Chewa Ababiu, also a board member, within the same range, 2017, 2020. She's a banker by profession. Her area of testimony also will relate to whether there was simply a formal request from GIF management itself to the investment committee, a subcommittee for consideration of the project. That is to say, before a project is undertaken, there's a subcommittee that needs to do the work. Her area of testimony will be whether or not there was even a request from management to go into such an arrangement. Also, another person will be Cecilia Gambra, also a board member, the same period of time. Area of testimony, whether or not the board approved any funding for the Sky Train projects. And this is in respect of the $2 million we're talking about.
Right.
Now, the additional witnesses that we got to know today are the rest of the board members. Mind you, the board has 9 members, including the CEO, and then the former board chair. So this is the rest of the board members. They are also coming to testify, largely in respect of disbursement, whether there was approval or not, whether there was even an approval for the project itself in the first place. So we find Yao Damidankwa, a former board member, Andrews Ejenimboating, Honorable Chonibua Kodia. This is a member of parliament. He happened to be on the board. He's also going to be a prosecution witness in this particular matter. And finally, you have Kofi Boachi, also a former board member.
Not the Kofi Boachi we know.
No, not him.
I see. Okay.
So this is the list of the witness statements that were withdrawn. So we begin with Benjamin Nati. Benjamin Nati is supposed to be a chief finance officer of the JIIF. His witness statement, for some reason, has been withdrawn. You also have Seth Kwame. Seth Nana Kwame. Seth Nana Kwame is also an officer. He is in charge of investment and the procurement unit at the GIIF. His witness statement has also been withdrawn. You have one inspector, Kisi Akresi. He's a detective chief inspector. His witness statement has also been withdrawn. And key is one Benjamin Okai, chief financial officer at GIFF. His witness statement has also been withdrawn. So these were the 4 witness statements that were withdrawn, and then the 8 went in. So, but for the withdrawal of the 4, prosecution would have been dealing with 12 witnesses in this particular matter.
But if you say their witness statements were withdrawn, what exactly does that mean?
So what it means is that they will not form part of the body of evidence that's going to be used in prosecution. So
they offered their statement, but then it has been withdrawn as a result of what? Do we know?
Well, there was no much explanation done, because, I mean, liberty to withdraw a witness, execute a case. You file a witness statement at the point before CNC. You choose choose which ones you want to rely on and which ones you do not want.
So these are witnesses who volunteered information to the Attorney General?
Well, that we didn't know. But what we do know for a fact is that these were witness statements that were filed before the court.
Right.
But of course, for the fact that there was a witness statement that was filed on their behalf, it presupposes that yes, they agreed to be part of it.
To be part of
that does not also mean automatically that the fact that the witness statement has been withdrawn means that the witnesses are unwilling to cooperate. Like I explained, it is down to prosecution to decide which witness statements they want to rely on and which one they do not want. So at this point of case management, they say, okay, we are withdrawing these 4 and then we are putting in the 8. In any case, you also look at the case of the very first one, that the key witness, that's in respect of, sorry, let me show you that, the NIB officer.
Yes.
In his case, his witness statement, the earlier one was withdrawn and then replaced with a new one. I mean, all those things are allowed at this level. The most important thing is that furnish the other side, furnish the courts. Let's know which ones you want to deal with, and then we'll take it from there.
No surprises?
No surprises at all, not at this point.
Interesting stuff.
But the other one too, which is also key, is also the question of whether or not that application that they are seeking to refer the matter to the Supreme Court for the determination and its likely outcome. Because an outcome is likely, and in fact, if it is granted, it means that the case at the High Court will have to be stayed until a determination is made at the Supreme Court for us to come back to continue. That
will prolong this case a bit further.
Exactly.
And
so
Ghanaians will have to wait, unfortunately. Dennis Mabel, I appreciate you for this as always. And this is one that we're keeping an eye on, and so stay with us here on Ghana Tonight.
Yeah, how about here in some koso on my for comment. Who came in our comment section na minjebre and kinkai farm of a meka will be aha Ghanatube. So open some Addo any akesia for any trim channel so there more reason bit me and no and as a bit me attend air course quickly no is by subscribing and also hitting on the notification bell. I was for Modofo Snow Macram.